Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Steve Cooper's podcast for aspiring real estate investors. In each show, we try to connect high-income professionals with industry subject matter experts so you can learn what's going on in the industry and be able to pick up some tips and tricks, and also learn what your interest might be. I help busy professionals in the aerospace, medical, and dental fields connect and learn about multifamily real estate investing. So if you're interested in pursuing that, let's talk about that after the show. In the interim, I'd like to make sure that you subscribe to this video, hit the like button, and make sure you share it if you think you've got friends and colleagues that would benefit from it. So today, I have the pleasure of introducing Heba Ahmed. She's a civil engineer who's a graduate from Dalhousie University. She's completed her MBA. She is busy in all things structural engineering, as well as also a developer in the missing middle sector of real estate, which I think is a key area of focus for many Canadians because we have such a housing crisis here. She's helping to contribute a solution. I'm going to let her explain all of that way better than I can. So welcome everybody, and welcome Heba.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, so thanks for the intro. Basically, I've had a 24-year career here in Canada in the infrastructure industry. Fresh out of school, I was a design civil engineer. I started with a company that manufactures and distributes infrastructure products for basically highways and heavy civil infrastructure projects throughout the country. I've been with that company for the majority of my career. First, obviously, designing those bridges and culverts, and then went on to climb the corporate ladder with them and went on more on the business development side and basically the leadership side of the engineering group and whatnot. And then I kind of migrated to different roles from there. I shifted my focus into the vertical building. So before that, I was building underground. I took a role with a modular construction company, which had me building above ground. So that was interesting and an eye-opener and a huge milestone for me in terms of shifting my career. It was very interesting to be able to see, obviously, take the project from inception to completion, but while manufacturing everything in a factory facility. Basically, we would manufacture the modules up to the furnishing point, actually, and then you would ship it to site and crane it in place and basically mud and tape and put it together like Legos. So that was very interesting in terms of the projects that we took. We did a lot of affordable housing projects across different municipalities, City of Toronto, Durham Region, Hamilton. So it was a very sort of a gateway for me to get into that industry. And then COVID hit. And like a lot of people, we had a lot of time on our hands. And basically, I took a few courses in real estate. And that was an eye-opener for me, just kind of painting the possibilities for us professionals in terms of kind of building generational wealth and using, for me, it was sort of a connection between my career and what I aspire to do personally. So basically, it kind of bridged the two worlds together, and kind of the light bulb went on with what I can do with this, right? And combining my industry experience into developing my own real estate portfolio. So I started by doing some developments out west, actually in Edmonton and Calgary. And then from there, I went on to network with a lot of individuals that are doing similar things. And you mentioned missing middle. So that's basically where the whole missing middle thing started for me, is just kind of networking with different individuals that are doing similar things. And obviously, they come from different walks of life and different backgrounds. And I was able to not just develop my own portfolio, but also help those developers with a couple of consulting services that I offer, including project management consulting. Obviously, that's where my expertise come from, but also procurement management. So I actually work hand in hand with other developers in providing them procurement packages for their developments or even their renovation projects. Because of my connections and because of my industry and people that I know in the wholesale distribution sector, I'm able to pre-negotiate basically heavily discounted packages for any material that touches HVAC, civil, electrical, and plumbing, so that I can provide those discounts onto the missing middle developers that are doing the same thing I'm doing.
Sold. I'm in. Wow, that's amazing. It really sounds quite a portfolio of experience you bring to the table. I work with a lot of engineers. I'm in the aviation world, and the engineers I work with, for the most part, sit behind a desk. They get a lot of focus on issues and problems and rarely ever get a chance to make it to the floor and see what's going on in the aircraft. But it sounds like you've got a fair mix. You get a fair bit of field work with what you're doing. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I mean, again, back when I was designing bridges, basically exactly what you just said, that describes your typical engineer. They're sitting behind the desk, punching calculations into a spreadsheet or doing design work and not seeing the fruits of their labor on site. But I held other positions within that company and then with other companies that gave me that site experience. So I was basically a business development director for a few years, and I had the regional engineers across Canada working with me. And the team was really responsible for taking the project after design into construction and implementation. So the site work part was part of that role. And obviously, working with clients like the municipalities and even the private sector gave me that sort of linking the two aspects together, the stuff on the paper with the real life implementation. And that's also true when I took on the role with a modular company. Same thing. It was basically, started with conceptual designs and then take it through manufacturing and then go to site and see how it's grained and how everything is finished in a very short period of time. So I really enjoy about my job the fact that I can see what I'm designing in real life.
Well, that's amazing. I think that it helps. I mean, I couldn't be the person behind the desk solely. I spend a lot of time there, don't get me wrong, but I like to actually get boots on the ground and be able to see and touch things and know what's happening in real time. You mentioned something about timelines, speaking of time. You mentioned something about being able to bring it together quickly. I am amazed by how long some of these projects can take. I think Alberta is probably an exception to most of the rest of Canada, but there's a long duration of approvals and permits and process. Are you experiencing that as well? And can you tell me about that?
Absolutely. And I experience this both in my corporate life and in my business as a developer. The part that takes the longest right now, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, is the approvals and the getting the permits in place and whatnot. So it varies from municipality to the next. As you mentioned, Alberta had a low entry barrier to a lot of developers because they did expedite that process. They did initially start with the 8 units as of right on any existing single family dwelling lots. So that gave developers, a head start in Alberta in terms of maximizing the number of units they can do on any investment property. So again, Alberta pioneered that, and I think Ontario's starting to improve on that, except that they are a little bit slow to come to the game. Again, each municipality is different. Ontario has 444 municipalities, and each one of them does it very differently. Obviously, Toronto and the GTA area is the biggest area of opportunity to try and streamline these types of approvals and permitting processes because there's a huge need in the GTA, as you know, in
Yeah.
terms of housing demand. So they are starting to make some headways into these policies. It's a bit slower than what developers would want to see, but it's happening surely but slowly.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, do you we talked about Alberta, you just mentioned Ontario. Are you spread out? Are you developing in multiple different places at once or?
I did start in Alberta just because of the low barrier entry there, but I am now focused in Ontario. Again, I'm based out of Guelph, so why not work in my backyard? There is definitely more red tape in Ontario, but trying to work through them and try to connect with the right individuals to make these policy changes possible.
Any ambition of crossing the line? Or I mean, this is what you're doing. Is it specific to Canada, or is this something that you think could be spread out internationally? And have you considered it?
I definitely did consider the US not too long ago, actually, until some of the recent policy changes that is hitting everyone hard. But in terms of expanding, I have no limitation in terms of geographic. Just for anyone who's just starting out or doesn't have a whole bunch of capital, I'm trying to do it strategically and obviously getting the best bang for my buck. So trying to work in areas where there is the least hurdles, the least red tape, or the most resources to be able to make things happen.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned capital. It's an expensive game, especially when you're dealing with long timelines. That must present even more challenges than I'm facing. You when you're going through a land development or something a process like you must be experiencing. My understanding with the financing you can get with CMHC, I'm assuming you're using them, is you can actually get construction loans that have draws that help to feed the machine. Tell me a little bit about the experience with that entity and process.
Yeah, so there is an attractive program that a lot of developers are taking advantage of now. When you mentioned CMHC MLI Select is that program. Obviously, that is attractive because it gives potential developers the ability to leverage up to 95% loan to cost for any given project. Obviously, you do have to meet certain criteria. There are points, there's a point system that basically give you certain points on sustainability and accessibility and on affordability.
Yeah.
A lot of developers are trying to cater their designs to address these three levers so that they can maximize their leverage with that program. And I mean, that program was created to create more affordable housing for Canadians who need it in extreme dire situations here. So we are trying to do that. The only caveat is that CMHC keeps changing the rules on us, and without prior notice or consent or even, getting public input. So that's the sort of the moving target for us. It's still a good program. It's just that there is still a lot of risk and uncertainty that comes with these changes.
I think I've heard that all over the place. So certainly hope that something's done soon to actually stabilize.
Absolutely. And my personality, just coming from my engineering background and my risk mitigation strategies, I always have plan A, B, and C. And, I'm not putting all my eggs in the CMHC basket. I am trying to leverage that program as much as I can, but I always have a plan B prepared if things change halfway, because as you mentioned, these projects can be an extended duration, and during the time frame, things can change very quickly.
Yeah. We share this. I'm an aircraft maintenance engineer. I'm also a PMP, so I have a lot of the similar skills to what you're bringing to the table and maybe experiences. One of the challenges that I think we're all looking at now is what happens with our costs as these tariffs are coming into place and impacting us. Are you seeing any of that? And what, if anything, are you doing to mitigate against those?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'm more focused on trying to find alternative supplies for really the necessary material that we need for each project. And again, I'm working with a wholesale distributor that has the ability to supply these or procure these materials to site. Right now, obviously, we are seeing a price impact from these tariffs that are imposed. But I am really focused on trying to find alternative sourcing supplies for primary material, but also trying to bring things in Canada. And I see that happening on many fronts. So we talked about modular. I see some modular companies trying to bring some of their facilities here in Ontario, here in Canada, so that things are made in Canada and try to get away from these global tariffs. I think Canada as a whole is trying to move to have more control over their procurement and over their supply chain. So this is not just me or developers. This is a holistic approach that Canadians are taking on many fronts. So I'm glad to see that happening. And I'd like to be part of the front line to make that happen.
Yeah, for sure. Let's switch gears a little bit. You are a very accomplished and capable engineer and a developer, but I'm expecting you may have encountered some challenges in rising up the corporate ladder. Is there any story there that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, you would expect it. Obviously, being a female in a male-dominated industry, I did face some challenges for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, I was really trying to be the oddball or like I was the oddball, but I was trying to normalize that. I was trying to take all of the disadvantages that I had and maybe complement it with either adding to my education, adding to my certification, adding to my skills so that I am on an even playing field with a competition, which again, because of the fact that I am a female in a male-dominated industry, that was always a race for me. I always had milestones throughout my career. To complicate things a little bit more, I am a single mom, so when I was raising my son, from the very beginning since he was born. Now he's 17. So I
Mm.
was always trying to juggle my career, climbing the corporate ladder while balancing my home life and making sure that I'm there for my son. I'm not going to claim that I did it by myself. I had a huge help from friends and family that were there to support me and, pick up the slack when I couldn't. But definitely I had a lot of challenges both on the personal front and with my situation with work. I was one of three females when I went to my program in civil engineering 25 years ago. And at work, I'm going to say I was the first female middle manager at my company. And, I spent like 19 years with that company. So I was the first female manager there. I was the first with a lot of things. I always draw these milestones or plan for these milestones, and I somehow always hit them. So it was always good to feeling of accomplishment to do that.
Good for you. Good for you. Our son is turning 16 tomorrow. So similar age group. And one of the challenges we faced, I think, together was, okay, our son's now in school during COVID or not in school during COVID, and having to balance a career and working through that. Hats off to you. You went through an amazingly challenging time, and look at where you are now. What's next on your horizon? We talk about milestones and goals. Where are you building skyscrapers next?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right now I'm just trying to do what I do better. Obviously, I've been doing consulting and development work for the last 3 years now. I would like to be efficient at it first and basically expand geographically, expand like kind of rinse and repeat the successful model that I'm hoping to get to. And then, the next milestone after that is, like you said, bigger and better things, right?
Things. We were in Vancouver yesterday and had a chance to look at some of the newer architecture there, and it was amazing me what's happening in the world and in that industry. So I look forward to seeing what you come up with. So as you look at building yourself, I'm assuming also got a team that's rising with you and growing as you go. Tell us a little bit about the team that you need to lean on and or that needs to look up to you and how that's supporting you. What kind of trades and you mentioned the supply chain, but what kind of trades and support do you have in your personal business here as you're growing? What do you think there?
So I work with teams through my consulting, basically services. They're all subcontractors, whether they're construction managers or certain trades for each discipline. For my own developments, I basically am working with joint ventures. So predominantly my teams are consisted of other sort of developers that have complementary skills or how we structure deals with one side being the financial partner, one side being the working partner. So the majority of my own developments are through joint ventures right now. And I'm always strategically trying to select an entity that will complement a skill that I don't have or a resource that I don't have. Personally, I am at the sort of turning point right now with trying to build my own team. And right now I'm using a lot of AI and automation type virtual team to be able to, delegate some of the things that I don't necessarily need to do myself or where my time is more valued in other tasks. I try to offload those to automation and AI driven agents. But the next step, like you said, is developing an actual team, boots on the ground. That's going to be the next milestone for me for sure.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm interested in a couple more things before we sign off. And I ask this of everybody. So I like to understand your goals and aspirations and be able to put in a box, what is it you're trying to achieve? What does success look like for Heba? And how are you going to know when you get there?
So basically, I want to be part of closing the gap on the housing crisis in Canada. And doing that one lot at a time, basically. Success means to me that I'm able to get to a place where I have a portfolio of developments that I can proudly say I've accomplished in that area, whether it's across Canada, Ontario, it doesn't matter. It's just like trying to help the social aspect of things while obviously feeling accomplished that I was part of something big. Success to me means that I have that portfolio under my belt and also making a lot of partnerships along the course and a lot of strategic investments along the course so that I can internally like I said earlier, have that generational wealth set up and pass that on to my son.
Is your son interested in engineering?
My son is interested in programming right now, which I think is a complementary area to what I'm doing because that's going to be the future of everything. So, I was telling him before that we're going to need to sit down sooner rather than later and use his skills in trying to automate some of the things that I do with programming. And he said, "Yep, that's what I want to do."
This is great, right? We talk about building a team and AI or having some kind of virtual support. And I think yeah, the other day I was talking to my son about helping me with some of the visual aspects of what we're doing because I have zero artistic skills.
Oh,
Um, so Heba, how to reach you if somebody wants to find you? What's the best means?
so, I can be reached by phone or by email. My website is One Source Development Group, so osdg.ca is my website, and through there you can book a consultation appointment with me or reach me by email or phone numbers on there too.
Awesome news. Any last words for our listeners as we get ready to sign off?
I think right now is just that talking to a lot of fellow investors, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. And what I have to say is just you're going to have to weather the storm as well. There's lots of speculation about what's happening next with either the tariffs or the housing market in general. But we've gone through a lot of ebbs and flows in terms of recessions and housing crashes and whatnot. This is another storm to weather, and you just have to be resilient and flexible. Don't do it by yourself, do it with partners, because that's key in trying to do this successfully.
That is great advice. I really do think so. Well,
Absolutely.
everybody, there you have it. Thank you for listening to today's episode. And reminder, if you're a busy professional ready to put your money to work through real estate, then let's connect. Reach out and we'd be more than happy to talk to you, both Heba and I. Okay. Well,
Thank you.
thank you, everybody. Bye now.